This episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by Squarespace. Could you cut off your own arm to save your life? Well, we try our best to watch the film 127 Hours.
Today in movies, we're going to talk about the flick 127 Hours, which is about back in 2003 when a young mountaineer, outdoorsman, Aaron Ralston, was trapped for 127 hours between a rock and a canyon wall. And it's based on his book, his autobiographical tale of the event, and directed by Danny Boyle, who won Academy Award just a couple of years ago for Slumdog Millionaire, and really his career was ignited in the States with the movie Trainspotting, which put you firmly inside the mindset of a heroin addict.
Yep.
Right. And here in 127 Hours, he puts us firmly in the mindset of a
man trapped under Boulder.
So,
literally.
That's right.
Yeah.
Alex, what'd you think of 127 Hours?
So when the news of this movie broke that Danny Boyle was taking on this experience as his next feature, I was a little bit worried because I was like, well, how are you going to make a movie, a feature-length movie, entertaining about a guy by himself under a boulder? And we had just seen Buried a few months back or a month back or whatever, which was ostensibly the same type of story, which is a sort of solitary one man's journey to cope with this situation he finds himself in by himself. But man, was I pleasantly surprised by this movie. I was shocked at how, first off, it's really a story about how positive attitudes can affect your life in many, many ways. Almost any other human being put in this situation would have died. Period, end of story. That's it. And it really leads you to question your own outlook on life and your own vision of how you would handle certain situations like that. And I thought really transcended just what, it wasn't about a guy with his hand stuck. It was about how people attack their lives due to their outlook and will to live. And it was amazing. It is hard to watch at times. I think there's about 10 solid minutes of this movie I didn't actually see.
And it's famous now for, in 2 screenings, people have had seizures or fainted or what,
But by the end, it's heartwarming, it's emotional. James Franco is fucking amazing. He is just flat out amazing. And I love that. I thought it was a knockout.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I'll take it even further. This is the movie I wished Buried was.
Yeah.
I wanted Buried to be about this, and it isn't. Buried's kind of a mystery. This is really a story of heroism, and I think it's easy for someone just on the surface of this story to say, how can you be a hero when really you got yourself into that situation and you just have to get yourself out of it? You're not helping anybody, but it truly is a heroic act. The mental fortitude this guy displays, his resilience, and as you say, positive, can do, I'm gonna get out of this, and it is stirring on a visceral level just because you immediately put yourself in that situation and wonder if you are man enough to deal with it in the same way, and you feel inside his experience. The filmmaking is really phenomenal. There are such wonderful techniques used to place me in that situation. Extreme close-ups or small little moments highlighted. My only criticism is I probably could have used maybe 5 to 10 minutes shaved off this movie of the flashback visions kind of stuff. I think there's just before the climax hits, there's this little gully of just a little bit too much of that. But it's such a small gripe for what is such an incredibly moving, powerful lesson in survival, in doing something truly superhuman. going beyond what you think human beings can do just because of staying mentally strong. It's incredible movie.
Yeah. Can't disagree. I think this is an incredible movie. I think this is Danny Boyle's best movie. He's come a long way, and the Danny Boyle that was behind his earlier films, that all of his movies have this degree of energy and kineticism that is at play in this movie about one guy stuck in a wall, which was so necessary for this flick. But in addition to that, he really is a master now of subjective filmmaking, of putting that's really, I don't really want to compare this to Buried, but like you guys, you're kind of hard pressed to. But the problem is they're just very different movies and they're attempting different things.
Right.
But what this does in putting you in the mindset of, it's so often in life that you experience something and you go, this would be great in a movie. And then you see a movie of that kind of experience, and you go, it's not, but it's not like
Ham Sandwich the movie. Just go to
it's
that.
just not like that. And I thought
He doesn't get the oozing cheese right.
this movie so perfectly articulates how it feels to be in a moment, and it happened to be an incredibly excruciating and exciting moment. And a lot of times with these subjective movies, and I'll even cite Danny Boyle's own Trainspotting, when surreal imagery happens, it doesn't feel like I'm experiencing that myself. It feels the opposite. I feel very distanced from the moment.
Yeah.
So in Trainspotting, when he dives into the toilet to dig out the thing, it's an awesome looking experience, but it doesn't, whereas things that happen in this movie that are surreal feel like that's so true. That's so how I've experienced that. And in a movie like Castaway, it shares similar to Buried, and it's a one man's journey, but it's more about the plot of that journey and the thrills as opposed to the emotional experience. But Danny Boyle puts a magnifying glass over what could have been a very trite universal moment, and that magnifying glass is over the exact precise way that is so true and honest to me.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I went into this movie, and after the first few minutes where it's a fun setup, once he gets himself into the situation, it has the same problem that Apollo 13 had, which is I was sitting there going, I know what's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm worried that now, as fun as the setup was, I just kind of want to get to what I know is coming. But he manages to do the same thing Apollo 13 did, which make that journey thrilling and full of twists and turns and incredible things. And the other thing I want to say real quick is sound design, music choices. Both of those, he's obviously famous in his movies for that, and it shows here too. There is such a added presence of sound in this movie for a subject that you might not think would need that. It really adds to the experience.
Yeah, it's a great movie all around.
You mentioned Apollo 13, and I actually didn't like Apollo 13, but it's an apt comparison.
Because you hate America.
Because of the
hate space.
one of those movies where it's inevitable, you know what's going to happen, how is it going to keep my interest. But the difference is, for what I already kind of said, is in that it isn't just about the thrill ride.
Yeah.
Even though he's great at that because he's such an energetic filmmaker.
It's about the human
It's about those
condition.
it's about the specific little tiny thing of when he's having a daydream about his life, and the moment that he chose about life isn't a broad moment that didn't feel trite. It felt like, oh God, the first time I ever held a video camera, and my parents, that is such a laser beam on a specific moment from your childhood that it becomes universal.
Treat Williams nailed non-technology dad. That's the other thing.
funny.
This movie was very funny.
Yeah.
There was a lot of laugh out loud moments, which, by the way, I think you really need in this kind of movie because
pressure release.
It is, and it really was.
There's a lot of pressure on his arm.
It didn't pull any punches in the worst of the worst, but it also did not pull any punches in the best of the best. I thought the movie was going to end at a certain place, and I was so happy that it kept going, and it was the most exhilarating, emotionally overwhelming ending, and not from sadness, but from an overwhelming joy, which is what a lot of people felt watching Slumdog Millionaire as well, which is interesting. So,
Winner, chicken dinner. Bring
I could spend
a bottle of water.
127 hours watching this movie again and again.
Bring a bottle of water. You'll thank me. All right, everybody, remember to stick tuned for this day in rad, but we do want to thank our sponsor, Squarespace.com. If you guys have not heard us talk about Squarespace.com, come on, get your heads out of your butts and listen. Squarespace is the best place
They were
to
stuck
have.
in a rock.
Nearly they were stuck in a rock. Squarespace is the best place to host your website. If you have any need for a website, you got to check out the Squarespace.com. Easy to set up sites. The best WYSIWYG editor I've ever used. It's really amazing stuff, super cheap, and not only super cheap, but if you upgrade to a premium account, you get a 2-week free trial, I think, but if you upgrade to a premium account, you can use the coupon code TRS when you check out and get 10% off the entire lifetime of your order, which is unbelievable, squarespace.com.
Awesome.
Just want to say I didn't mean to say stuck in a rock. Stuck under a rock is what I meant to say.
Oh, I didn't
It just
know.
felt weird.
Don't miss tomorrow's show where we return to Tagline Takedown.
So today in Rad History, it wasn't so grand. But tomorrow in Rad History, because we're gonna have bloopers
Big day,
airing
big day.
tomorrow, is November the 19th, 1916. Samuel Goldwyn and Edgar Selwyn established Goldwyn Pictures, which is, of course, now MGM, Leo the Lion, the mascot. The interesting thing is that he actually, his name was Goldfish.
Ooh.
And he changed it, Goldwyn, Selwyn, Goldwyn Pictures.
'Cause he
and
wins.
he's famous for a lot of his quotes, a lot of malapropisms like, a verbal contract isn't worth the paper it's written on.
That's good.
Or
It's like Yogi Berra.
Yeah.
color television, bah, I won't believe it until I see it in black and white.
That's good.
Or flashbacks are a thing of the past.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Those are great. Did you know that the MGM lion growl is the sound effect for the monster at the end of Poltergeist?
Interesting.
If you listen for that at the end of Poltergeist, you're like, oh my god, it's the freaking lion from MGM.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fun facts.